You know the feeling. Everyone knows the feeling. It is the morning of the 27th, 3 days before payday. You open your banking app the way you have opened it 100 times before. Not because you want to, because you have to. Because somewhere in the back of your mind, there is always that quiet voice asking the same question it has been asking your entire adult life. Is there enough? Is there enough for the groceries and the gas and the thing that came up this week that you were not expecting? Is there enough to get to Friday without something going wrong? You check the balance, you do the math in your head, you close the app. You feel that particular kind of relief that is not really relief at all, more like the temporary absence of dread. The money is there, this time, but the question will be back. It is always back. It has been back every single month for as long as you can remember. This is the story of the day that stopped. It did not stop dramatically. There was no single moment where everything changed in an instant. No lottery ticket, no inheritance, no viral moment that made you famous overnight. It stopped the way most real things change, slowly and then all at once. The result of 1,000 small decisions made over years that individually meant nothing, but together meant everything. It started with a conversation you had with yourself at 26, not out loud, just a quiet internal reckoning that happened on an ordinary night when you were sitting on your couch after work, feeling that familiar low-grade exhaustion that comes not from working hard, but from working hard for a life that still feels financially fragile. You had a decent job.
You were not broke by any reasonable definition, but you were one unexpected expense away from stress, one car repair, one medical bill, 1 month where something went sideways. That was all it took to turn your entire financial life upside down. You thought about your parents, how they had worked their entire lives and still checked their bank accounts with that same quiet anxiety. How that anxiety had been the background noise of your entire childhood. The conversations that stopped when you walked into the room, the tension that appeared every January when the credit card bills from Christmas arrived, the way your mother's face changed when the car needed something expensive. You loved your parents completely, but you did not want their financial life. You wanted something different. You just did not know yet what different looked like or how to get there. You started reading, not self-help books with vague advice about mindset and manifestation, real books, books about money and investing and how wealth actually worked underneath all the noise. You found Benjamin Graham, a man who had lived through the worst financial collapse in American history and come out the other side not with cynicism, but with clarity. Graham believed something simple and radical, that the stock market was not a casino, that it was a machine for transferring money from the impatient to the patient, that if you bought good things at reasonable prices and had the discipline to hold them through the inevitable storms, you would come out the other side with more than you started with, every time, without exception. You opened an investment account at 26. You transferred $300.
You bought an index fund that owned a small piece of hundreds of companies at once. You set up an automatic transfer so the same $300 left your account on the first of every month before you had a chance to spend it. And then you went back to your life. Same job, same apartment, same routines. But something had shifted underneath everything. Something small and permanent. The first year was unremarkable. Your account grew slowly. The numbers were not exciting. $300 became $3,800 after 12 months of contributions and modest market returns. Not enough to change anything. Not enough to feel like progress in any meaningful way. Your friends were buying things, new phones, weekend trips, clothes that cost more than your monthly investment contribution. You kept transferring $300 on the first of every month and tried not to compare yourself to people who were spending money they had not made yet. Year 2 brought your first real lesson. The market dropped. Not catastrophically, just enough to turn your $7,000 into $5,400 over a period of 3 months. You felt it in a way that surprised you. The intellectual understanding that markets go up and down did not fully prepare you for the emotional reality of watching something you built shrink on a screen. You understood Graham's words about Mr. Market, the irrational business partner who showed up every day with a different price for the same thing. You understood them in your head, but your stomach had not read the book. You did not sell. You kept buying. $300 on the first of every month without fail. The shares you bought during those 3 months cost less than the shares you bought before.
You were buying the same things at a discount the way you would buy anything else at a discount, gratefully, patiently, without drama. The market recovered, your portfolio came back to where it was and then kept going. The lessons settled into something deeper than knowledge. It became instinct, the understanding that down markets were not emergencies, they were opportunities dressed up as disasters. Most people ran from them. You learned to walk toward them. Your late 20s and early 30s brought the kind of life complexity that nobody fully prepares you for. A relationship, a wedding, a mortgage, a child. The expenses multiplied in ways that would have derailed a less committed version of yourself, but the automatic transfer kept running. $300 became $500 when you got a promotion at 29. $500 became $750 when your salary jumped at 32. Every raise was split. Half went to life, half went to the future. The lifestyle creep that consumed most people around you never fully consumed you because the money was already gone before you decided how to spend it. You stopped checking your investment account every week somewhere around year 4, not because you stopped caring, because you started trusting. Trusting the math, trusting the process, trusting that the daily fluctuations that used to make your stomach drop were completely irrelevant to the outcome you were building toward. You checked once a month, then once a quarter. The less you looked, the better the decisions you made. The silence was not ignorance, it was discipline. At 35, your portfolio crossed $100,000 for the first time.
You were making dinner when you checked your phone and saw the number. You stood in your kitchen for a long moment with a wooden spoon in your hand and let it register. $100,000. Built from $300 a month starting at 26. Built from patience and automatic transfers and the refusal to panic when everyone around you was panicking. You finished making dinner. You did not tell anyone. You just carried it quietly the way you had carried all of it. The compounding that Graham had written about and Buffett had built his entire life around was beginning to reveal itself in your actual numbers now. The account was no longer growing primarily because of your contributions. It was growing because of its own momentum. The $100,000 was generating returns that exceeded your monthly contribution. Money was making money. Not in a theoretical way, in your actual account, on your actual phone, every single month whether you did anything or not. Your late 30s brought a clarity about work that you had not expected. You were good at your job, you genuinely liked parts of it, but you noticed something changing in how you felt on Sunday evenings. The dread that used to live there had shrunk, not disappeared entirely, but reduced to something manageable. Because you knew something that changed the entire psychological weight of employment. You knew you did not desperately need the paycheck anymore. You wanted it, you chose to show up for it, but the desperation was gone. And the absence of desperation changed everything about how you carried yourself, in meetings, in negotiations.
In the quiet moments when you decided how much of yourself to give to something that was not yours. At 39, you crossed $200,000. The number had a different quality than the first 100,000. The first 100,000 felt like proof. The second 100,000 felt like inevitability, like watching something that was always going to happen finally happen. You raised your contribution again, $1,000 a month now. The compounding was accelerating in a way that felt almost unfair. The account was adding more in a good month than you were contributing manually. You had become a passenger in your own wealth building. The machine was running itself. 42 years old, a Saturday morning. Your family is still asleep. You are sitting at the kitchen table with coffee and your phone and the particular silence of an early weekend morning that belongs entirely to you. You open your banking app out of habit, the habit you have had since your 20s, the one that used to come with that quiet voice asking if there was enough. The voice is not there. You sit with that for a moment. Try to locate it. It is simply gone. Not suppressed, not distracted. Gone. The balance in your account is comfortable, and the investment account behind it is substantial, and the automatic systems you built over 16 years are running quietly in the background generating returns while you sit here in the silence drinking your coffee. You close the app. You do not feel relief. You feel something entirely different, something you do not have an immediate word for. It takes you a while, sitting there in the quiet, to identify it.
It is the feeling of financial safety so complete and so earned that it has stopped requiring your attention, the way a healed wound stops hurting, not because you are ignoring it, because it is actually healed. You think about the 26-year-old sitting on that couch after work, exhausted and financially fragile and staring at a life that felt permanently uncertain. You think about the $300 transfer, the first one, the one that felt simultaneously too small to matter and too large to afford. You think about every month after that, every automatic transfer, every marklet drop you bought through, every raise you split between living and investing, every time you chose the future over the present moment. You did not win anything. You built something, slowly, quietly, without anyone watching or applauding or understanding what you were doing or why. You built a life where the question that used to define your mornings simply does not exist anymore. Your child walks into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from their eyes, and asks, "What is for breakfast?" You put your phone face down on the table. You get up, you make breakfast. You are completely present. Not distracted by a number on a screen, not calculating whether there is enough, not carrying that quiet financial dread that you inherited from your parents and swore you would not pass on. You are just making breakfast on a Saturday morning, and the money is fine. It is always fine now. That is what 16 years of $300 a month actually buys you. Not a number, not a balance, not a portfolio value that you show people at dinner parties. It buys you Saturday mornings that belong entirely to you. It buys you the permanent absence of that voice. It buys you the ability to close the app and not care what the number says. That is what financial freedom actually feels like. Not yachts, not private jets, not anything you can photograph. Just a Saturday morning in your kitchen making breakfast for your kid without a single thought about whether there is enough. There is enough. There has been enough for a while now. You just kept going until you got here.